kind of see how all those time frames, does this make sense on multiple time frames? Is there, if it makes sense on this on the daily, was there a better entry I could have had? Or, or am I trading against like the weekly as a, as a whole? Is that kind of the primary, trend? So I started looking at that. What are the ways that, I can do better? And some of the observations were, and this is the first one. You'll notice that most of the charts I post, I'm starting using the 10-minute chart. And it's not because I'm, thinking I'm in a day trade here. I just feel like it shows that auction process the best, right? You'll see that those price spikes and whether it's going to hold, and, or whether it's one of these, initial short-term pops or short-term, sell-offs that you particularly, see most common in the morning of the day. But, there's, times when you'll see a late day flush or a late day spike. But you want to, I feel like the 10-minute shows whether it's going to build up there, or if it's just a spike. So that's kind of my go-to. The other observation that I've had is you see these wicks on a candle. And maybe you want to find I can find an example, I've got them, but they all form in the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes of the trading day. Yet more often than not, so to me, what does that tell us? Is it really, do we really need to put our stops at LOD or HO, or buy stops at high OD, day? Is that really where we're going to be buying if it has to take out the high, or does that not mean anything at all? You know, is it that we're just going to find a bid at, and fuse that auction, they're going to flush the price, but do you really need, then if they start, most common, is trading at 2000, do you really need to go back to 1500 to know that it's not going to work? If it goes to, 2500, I don't think you do. I think you can tighten that up. Um, so wicks on daily, I don't think they matter for support or resistance when they form quickly. In other words, that quick spike or quick flush, there's really not there's really not an auction taking place at those levels. It's, just they're just price exploration. It's not the real price. Um, I've heard the phrase that, time at price is more important than volume at price.